Hello everyone. Welcome to lesson number 2 of the Getting Started with TradeStation series. If you have joined us for the first time, my name is Jesus Nava, and I'm the Director of Client Training and Education here at TradeStation. It will be a pleasure to present in this class. Getting Started with TradeStation is an educational program that is comprised of 12 different lessons. Today we're going to do lesson number 2. And the title of this lesson is the order bar and order entry preferences. So as the title implies, we're going to talk about how to place orders, how to monitor orders and positions, and how to view and keep track of all the orders that you place in TradeStation. We do have about 90 minutes for this class. We do have a lot of information to discuss and explain, and we'll take this opportunity as well to take some questions from the chat area. Just keep in mind that your questions are seen by everyone, and we're going to try to keep the questions topical or related to the topic that I'm discussing so that we can keep on track and about the topic that we're talking about. The PDF is available in the Documents section right there at the bottom right of the player. Click on Documents, you'll find the PDF for lesson number 2, and you'll find other PDFs for the other upcoming classes, as well as other links to important pages of our website. This presentation is being recorded and will be available in the on-demand section of our website. Let me share with everyone the link to the archive so that you have it handy. There it is. We should have the video or the recorded version of this presentation uploaded to the website within a few days if everything goes as planned. Before we get started, here's some important information. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we present here is for educational purposes only. They're not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone. So please read the PDF handout, which is also available in the document section, and I'm pushing into the chat window at this moment. Ravi, I see your question about lesson number 1. The PDF should be there as well. So click on Documents at the bottom right of the player, and you should find PDF for all the lessons we're going to do in the series. To get an idea of what this class is going to be about, let me open up the PDF so that everybody can see it. This is lesson number 2. The title is the order bar and order entry preferences. So in a nutshell, we are going to talk about the order bar and all the types of orders that you can place there, how you can track orders and positions in the Trade Manager, how to do it in the position graph bar. So we'll talk about those little boxes that appear at the top of TradeStation when you open up positions. We'll see account orders and positions in charting. I'll show you how you can manage that. We'll talk a little bit about OCO and OSO orders. Although I'm not a fan of OCO and OSO orders in the order bar, because I'd rather use them in other order entry tools such as the matrix, we are going to talk about them in the order bar and how you can access them from the order bar. We'll discuss some advanced order features, check boxes on the order bar that sometimes they're not very intuitive, so we'll talk about the behavior of an order when you select any of these checkboxes. And then at the very end of the class, we'll talk about setting order entry preferences and some of the items that are there that will help you understand how TradeStation handles orders and positions. All right, let's go ahead and get started. To answer one of the questions in the chat, there's no difference between the PDF that you're getting in this class and the PDF that's available in the archives pages of the Getting Started series. So it's the same PDF. What we're doing right now is we are redoing the videos just to refresh the content, maybe highlight here and there some new functionality that has been implemented, and just give the, the class a fresh presentation. Okay, when you log on to TradeStation, at the very top, you see what's called the order bar. Yesterday, when we were doing the class, we said that the order bar is a manual order entry facility. And it's completely manual because you have to click on all the different boxes in order to select the symbol, the quantity you're going to trade, the price that you want, the type of order, the route for the order. There's a lot of clicking going around before you can click on buy or sell. So it's a manual order entry facility. A lot of you will probably be comfortable. Let me just get rid of this. Hold on a second. A lot of you will probably be comfortable with the order bar, and you'll like the order bar, and you'll do all your trading on the order bar, and that's fine. Tomorrow, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Good Friday, so we're off tomorrow. On Monday, when we come here for class on lesson number 3, we're going to talk about other order entry tools that I would say are a little bit more efficient because they don't require so many clicks in order to place an order. In fact, one of the windows is a one-click order entry tool. But here, the order bar, we are going to talk about it. It'll get us on the groove of understanding order entry and all the different settings that are available here. There are 4 tabs available in the order bar. If you look on the left-hand side of my order bar, you'll see equities, options, futures, and forex. If you're logged on to a simulated environment, all the tabs will be available to you to trade. So you can test some forex trading, futures trading, options, equities. It doesn't matter what asset you trade. They're all active, and you can practice on all of them. So it's not limited to the asset class that you have in your real account. See, for the simulator, you have all of them turned on. Now, when you go to your live account and you go to your real funds, only the account or the asset class that you have opened up an account for, that's the tab that will be active for you, and that's the one you'll be able to use. But on simulated, feel free to play around with all the asset classes. It becomes a great learning tool if you're trying to venture into a different market. Okay, so let's talk about all the different the boxes here. Before I do so, let me get an idea of the type of asset classes that you trade. So I'm going to send a poll here. Make the answers anonymous so that we keep them private, but I'm going to share all the results for you. And you can select multiple options from the question. So let's go ahead and do this. Just click on the option of what you're trading, and you get an idea of what the audience and the majority of you are trading. Okay. So we have about a 60% stocks, 38% futures, 16% forex. So we have a mixed crowd. We have 30% of you trade stock options. We have a mixed crowd. So my examples are going to vary, of course. Most of the explanations are probably going to use equities, but keep in mind that the functionality may also apply to other assets. So the fact that I'm showing a trade on a stock doesn't mean that you don't have that functionality in futures. It's probably there as well. When there are differences, I'll make sure to point out what the differences are and the limitations, okay? So thank you very much for participating on this poll. That's a very good point, Linda. I'm reading one of the questions here from the chat. It's true. If you do not have real-time data for a particular instrument, you will not be able to trade it. So earlier when I said that you could, practice trading all the different asset classes, that's only possible if you have real-time data. So very good for reminding me of that. If you have delayed data, the simulator will not allow you to place any trades because it simulates that part as well on the real account. See, on a real account, We don't allow you to trade if you don't have real-time quotes on a particular instrument. And the same applies on the simulator. So if you want to practice futures trading, but you don't have a futures account, just enable real-time data for futures and you should be able to use a simulator for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and place a trade, and I'll show you a few things that we can do for that trade. By the way, if you're following me on the PDF, we are talking about pages 1, 2, and 3, which are all the settings in the order bar. I can go box by box, but sometimes it's just better to use an example and then point out at all the different information that's here. Let's go to the equities tab for now. We have a symbol box where you type in a symbol that you want to trade. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but every time you type in a symbol, the boxes here below will automatically provide you with a real-time quote. The symbol is oil, okay, but I can just type in a different symbol, and these buttons down here will automatically update with the current quote of the symbol that I type in. Let me change the symbol here to, let's say, AXP, which is American Express. The buttons over here automatically update, and I know that American Express is trading at $79.30. That's the L right here in the middle. The button on the left, the B, is the bid, and the button on the right is the ask. Now these buttons are very convenient because they automatically populate the limit or the stop price by just clicking on the buttons. So if I click on the L, notice how it automatically sends the $79.29 to the limit price box. So sometimes instead of having to type the price in manually, you can just click on the buttons here, the bid, last, or ask buttons, and have the price show up in your price box automatically. Now, a few things to keep in mind when you're placing an order here on the order bar. You have a quantity box. It's defaulted to 500. If you're looking for the default values, and I'm not sure if you've looked at the default button here in the order bar, but there are some default values that show up on the order bar for you automatically. And those default values are available by right-clicking the order bar and then going to Order Entry Preferences. We don't talk about order entry preferences until the very end of this class. I think the order entry preferences are on page 9 of the PDF, but let me show you just one single setting. If I right-click, just try to find an empty spot on the order bar, like on the gray area. If I right-click on the gray area of the order bar, and I click on Order Entry Preferences, it'll take me to this dialog. All right. Here on the left-hand side, you have all the different asset classes that you find in the order bar. But what I wanted to point out is if you're an equities trader and you go to Trading, here are the default settings for the Equities tab. If you're an options trader, you just go to Trading for Options. If you're a futures trader, you go to Trading for Futures. And same for Forex. Each one of these trading categories controls what the default values are going to be. Now those are just defaults, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you cannot change them. It's just whatever shows up on the order bar when you first launch TradeStation. So if you want to change the order type, or if you want to change the route or the duration of the order, you can make those adjustments here in the Order Entry Preferences dialog. And now every time you log on to TradeStation, it'll have those settings. Here you have the quantity. This is a fixed amount, which is 500 shares, which is the default. So make sure that if you want to change the default, you right-click on the order bar and go to Order Entry Preferences. One of the things that I point out also on the Equities tab, which is also available in Options, but it's not available for Futures and it's not available for Forex, is this little button that has a pound sign. Because for equities and options, you have the ability to express your quantity not only on a number of shares that you want to trade, but you can also say, I want to invest a dollar amount. And to do that, just click on the pound sign and notice how it changes to a dollar sign. So your quantity can be $10,000. And TradeStation will make the calculation and determine how many shares of American Express would actually make up $10,000 of investment. It will try to round it down to the nearest even lot. So it won't exceed the $10,000 because that's the amount you're specifying, but it won't give you, or it won't enter a position of an odd number of shares. It'll try to round it down to the nearest even number of shares that would total up the $10,000 investment. Okay? Yes, I will be explaining routes in just a moment. And Paul, that is your question about preferences not applying to chart trading. That is a good point. I believe not. Remember that chart trading is an application that was designed using easy language and may not read the order entry preferences completely. There are some settings, though, that are read by chart trading, and we'll get to those once we talk about chart trading. All right? All right, let's go ahead and stick to number of shares. I'll click on the little button again and go back to a pound sign. Here on the right of the symbol box, we have a magnifying glass. When you click on it, it'll take you to the symbol lookup. In case you don't or are not familiar with the acronym of a particular company, it'll help you find the symbol or the acronym you need to trade. Let's say, for example, we want to look for Home Depot. I just type in the description for Home Depot, click on lookup, and it'll return what the symbol is for Home Depot. I can just click it from the results pane, click OK, and it'll automatically be uploaded here inside my symbol box. Home Depot is trading currently at $114.50. Now the limit price box and the stop price box will be available for you to type in a price depending on the type of order that you select. Notice how order type right now is set to limit, so the limit price box is available for me to enter a price. If I go back to my order type drop-down and I click, for example, on market, a market order does not specify a price, so the stop price and the limit price boxes are grayed out. If I click on the drop-down and I select a stop market, then I have the ability to type in something in the stop price. So some of the features and some of the items and boxes in the order bar will be grayed out and available to you depending on some of the options that you select on the drop-downs. So do not think that we are disabling certain functionality on the order bar. If you look here on the right-hand side, you see some of the check boxes that are grayed out. That just means that based on the selections that you've made in some of the boxes, some of the features are not available. All right, so just keep that in mind. All right. The auto button you see here next to the limit price and the stop price are ways in which you can select a price automatically without having to type it in. If I click on auto for now, the auto stop price is off, but you have several options that allow you to select a price at the time that you enter a buy or a sell. Let me give you one quick example. Let's say that you select join. Join will buy at the bid or sell at the ask. If I select join, notice how my stop price is automatically grayed out and I can see the word join. So join means that at the time that I click on the buy or the sell button or the sell short or buy the cover, TradeStation will look at the bid and the ask and grab that price as my stop price. In this case, this is a stop order. So if you're buying, it'll buy at the bid. And if you're selling, it'll sell at the ask. And that's what the description says here. Buy at bid, sell at ask. If you want to do the inverse, you say hit or take, which is buy at ask or sell at bid. If you want to make some improvements or you want to shave the bid or the ask, then you select the appropriate selection. But these prices are not specified until you actually click on buy or sell a short and send the order through. When TradeStation looks at the bid and the price and selects the current bid or ask as the limit or stop price for your order. Okay, let me turn this feature off. So let's say, for example, that I'm interested in Home Depot. Home Depot is currently trading at 114.56. Let's say that I'm gonna send a limit order. So I'm gonna click here on the order type and select limit. I'm gonna click on the last traded price, but instead of trading at 114.62, I want to be a buyer at 114.50. So this is my limit price. This is the price that I prefer to pay for Home Depot. If I'm ready to place the trade, I would click on buy or sell short, depending on which direction I want to establish that position. In this case, since I want a lower price, I would assume it's a buy order. But over here on the right-hand side, I have other settings that I can play around with. First of all, I have a route. If I click on the route, you get this long list of different items or different venues that can receive your order. Intelligent is the default one. That's the one that shows up on under route when you look at the order bar, and it's the selection that it's available to you for most equities orders. When you select intelligent, there is a proprietary technology on the order execution server that looks at all the attributes of your order and selects the order route for you automatically. So there's no need for you to study each one of these venues and understand what they are, unless you want to do so and there's an advantage to you to actually know that if you send your order to ARCA or BATS or American Stock Exchange, you'll have an advantage. But if you don't understand the mechanics of each one of these venues, Intelligent will do the actual routing for you. And based on the attributes of your order, it'll select the most appropriate order route for you. There are help documents available in the TradeStation help that explain each one of these venues and how orders are handled and the times that they accept orders and not. But it's not necessary for you to know what they do in order to send an order. Most of the time, most TradeStation users will use Intelligent because it's the fastest and easiest way to send an order to the market. Here on the right-hand side, under duration, we have a few options as well. In fact, equities is the asset class that has the most duration types. On the route topic, route is not relevant for futures and Forex. If I go to my futures, notice how there's no route drop down. Same for Forex, there's no route because all orders go to the same place. If you're trading the S&P E-mini futures, those orders always go to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. If you're trading Forex, TradeStation will do the execution for you according to the quotes that are being received by the banks. But equities, we do have options as to where the order is going to go. Duration. I did say that for equities, you have a longer list. And the reason for that is because for equities, you have the concept of pre and post market. There's the regular session. We know what the times are. We know the stock market opens at 9:30 and closes at 4. That's your regular session. But stocks start trading before the market opens, and they continue to trade after the market closes. And we call that extended sessions. In order for you to trade during these extended sessions, we use the durations that have a plus to the right of it. Right? So every duration that you see that has a plus sign to the right just means that that is designed to allow you to trade pre and post market. These plus signs are not available for futures. See, if I go to duration for futures, there's no pluses because there's no concept of pre and post market. The market is either open or it's closed. So if the market is closed, you won't be able to send an order. But for equities, the concept is different. The market may be closed, but you have the ability to send an order pre-market or post-market. Now, some of the similarities in duration are day. A day order is just for the current trading session. So if I send a limit order to buy Home Depot at 114.50, and this order does not get filled because Home Depot just goes higher and higher, my order will be canceled at the end of the day. And that's why it's a day order. Every order that is not canceled in that day gets, every order that is not filled that day gets canceled at the end of the trading session. If you want the order to remain active consecutive days, then you have to choose something that is not a day order, something like a GTC, which stands for Good Till Cancel. The order remains active until you manually cancel that order. Or if you want to specify a date, you do GTD. When I select GTD, it opens up a calendar button allowing me to select the date on which I want the order to be canceled. GTD, Good Till Date. If I click on the drop down again, I see other durations here. Just for your information and understanding, IOC and FOK are two durations that are very similar. They're not equal, but they're similar because they're looking for an instant fill. So let's say, for example, that I send an IOC order. An IOC is a type of order that will go to the market, and if it doesn't find what it's looking for, it'll cancel the order. That's why it's called instant or cancel. However, it allows for partial fills. So let's say, for example, you see my quantity here is 500. If the order goes to the market and is only able to fill me on 100 shares, it'll fill me those 100 shares at the price that I requested, and the remaining 400 are canceled. It's instant or cancel. FOK, which stands for fill or kill, is the type of order that does not allow partial fills. You either fill my order in its entirety, or I want the whole thing canceled. That's FOK, but it's instant. Once it goes to the market, if it doesn't find what it's looking for, it's not going to sit there waiting for it to get filled. It'll just be canceled automatically. And that's what IOC and FOK do. We have OPG, which is an opening at the opening of the market, and we have a CLO, which is at the closing of the market. Some of these durations are available on certain exchanges, like the American Stock Exchange offers this functionality, and it sets some orders at the opening price and the closing price of the day. And then at the very end, we have the 1, 3, and 5 minute durations, where your order only remains active during that time. So it's a 1 minute order, a 3 minute order, a 5 minute order. Donald, your question about odd fills. If the markets are very liquid, I don't see a problem with an odd, order being sent to the market. Usually, orders are sent in even lots, but if you have an odd lot, if the market is very liquid, I don't see any problems in your order getting filled. And in regards to the join feature, working on pre and post market, it works the same way. Remember, there's a bid and an ask available pre and post market as well. So the auto functionality for the price of our orders works as well on these extended hours. Calvin asks a question, can you trade after the market close? If you're trading equities, yes, you can. There's a post-market activity that extends all the way up till 8 p.m. Eastern time. So you can definitely trade after the market close. There are certain limitations though. When you trade outside the regular session, you can only send a limit order. Since the markets are not open, you cannot send a market order. See, a market order is only available during market hours. So when the market closes, pre and post, the only type of order that you can send is a limit order. Okay? And Michael, your question about GTC plus. Remember that the GTC, if you select a GTC without the plus, your order is only active during regular session, 9:30 to 4. But if you want to also play in the pre and post market activity, then you select a plus because that's extended hours. Not only the regular session, but extended hours. Okay? Perfect. Account number is great because it allows you to trade multiple accounts. See, most of you probably have only one account, but if you have an individual account and you have a corporate account, and then you have a joint account, and then you have an IRA account, all these accounts can be connected to your TradeStation platform, and you have a drop-down right here allowing you to select the account number that you want to trade. All right, let's go ahead and send our order. We wanted to buy Home Depot at 114.50. It's a limit order. I'll send it as a GTC. I won't choose a route. This is intelligent, and I'll click on buy. Now, this is an interesting thing right here. It's giving me some sort of a warning, and it's asking me, total position cost is $57,000. Do you want to continue? Now, these are sort of validations, and these are validations that you set up for your account. As a default, TradeStation sees that if you are trying to put in a trade that exceeds $50,000 of your account, it'll give you some sort of validation or warning. Are you sure you want to do this? If you trade large amounts of money, higher than 50,000, in order for you to avoid this message, you have to change those validations. And validations are great because they protect you from making an error on your order. Maybe instead of trading 100 shares, you fat-fingered the order and you typed in 1,000 without intending to buy 1,000. So the validations are going to protect you and say, hey, this order is going to cost you so much. Are you sure you want to continue? And then you can validate it or not. Now, where are the validations? I'm going to click on no for now. And I'm going to show you where those validations are because it's important that we talk about where they are and how to set them. But I'm going to go back to the order entry preferences, which is page 9 of the PDF. And if you remember, in order for you to access the order entry preferences, just right-click on any order entry tool. You can even do it here on the position graph bar. And you have order entry preferences in the right-click menu. When I go there, notice that each one of the assets has a category for validations and confirms. Validations and confirms. Let me go here to the equities one. Notice how they're separated, validations and confirmations, because confirmations are turned on and validations are turned on as well. Now, of course, you have the option to disable confirmations and disable validations, but our suggestion is for you, if you're familiar with the order entry tool, of course, you can go ahead and disable all the confirmations. You just want the order to go through. But sometimes the validations are great because if you make an error, TradeStation will catch it for you. There's different things that you can validate. For example, if you're placing an order at a price that is far away from the last traded price, then it's going to give you a warning. And it's going to say, maybe that's not the price that you wanted. You're 15% away from the last traded price. So you'll get that validation. If you set orders away from the last traded price and you want to increase that percentage, feel free to do so. We also validate the quantity. If it's more than 2,000 shares, give you a warning. Maybe I just typed in too many zeros in my quantity. Or if it's going to cost you more than $50,000, here's the one that we just triggered right now, if the position cost is more than $50,000. And then the last one is if you set an activation rule and the order will be placed immediately, then give me a warning. Sometimes, when you're setting up an activation rule, and sometimes we don't think things through very well, and we realize that the activation rule would actually get triggered automatically, then we should get a warning. Because if we're setting an activation rule, is for the order to be activated on a future event, not right now. Otherwise, we wouldn't, set up an activation rule. All right? So validations, as I said, are great to protect us from making errors in our orders. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing some questions here in the chat about how to set up different orders, and we're going to go through them, and I'll show you some examples as well. I think I'll cover some of the scenarios that you're sending in through the chat. So look, in order to get validations, just right click on anywhere you find a gray area, either on the order bar or the position graph bar, and you have order entry preferences. So you have validations and confirms for equities, for options, futures, and Forex. Okay. So I'm going to send my order. In fact, I'm going to adjust my price because notice how my limit price is 114.50 and Home Depot's already down at 114.49. So let me go ahead and change that price and set it to 40. 9 cents below what the last traded price is. And I'm going to click on buy. My total position is over $50,000. I'm going to continue. I'm going to say yes. This is my confirmation window giving me information about my order. Always look at all the details here, the estimated commission. If you don't want to see the confirmation again, notice how there's a checkbox that allows you to disable it. So I'm going to disable it for now so that I don't get it every single time that I place a trade. And I'm going to click on yes here. Now notice a couple things that happened. Here in the order bar, we have an information bar. It says received on my simulated account by 500 HD at 114.40 limit. So you get information about the last order that you placed on the order bar. If you don't see the whole information, by hovering over the information line, you can see a tooltips that gives you the whole line. Another thing happened. I'm not sure if you noticed, but the cancel button lit up in yellow. Before it was gray. The cancel button will only light up in yellow when you have orders active. Sometimes the cancel button's grayed out and we get, TradeStation users calling support because TradeStation is not letting them cancel any orders. In reality, there's no orders to cancel, and that's why the cancel is grayed out. So cancel is only lit up when you have active orders to cancel. So I can click on the cancel button and I get a drop down with different options. I can do a cancel replace, which is the top option, or I can just cancel that order outright. Notice you have options to also cancel all orders at once. I'm just going to cancel the order for now so you can see how that looks. Notice how the cancel button now is grayed out and my information line says you are out. Simulated account, I canceled my order. Okay. I see a question here in the chat that says, is there a need to set a stop on a daily basis, or does it exist for the life of the equity? That all depends on the duration of the order or of the stop that you're setting. Remember that you're setting an order that has a stop, but if this is a day order, the day order will be canceled at the end of the day. So if you're sending a stop and you want that stop to be active on multiple trading sessions, then you have to send it as a GTC. So make sure that you adjust the duration of that order if you want that order to remain active. Dana, your question on a Mac, I'm not really sure how to do Macs. I only use TradeStation on a PC. So if anybody's using a Mac right now and they can give Dana some suggestions, maybe we can get some help there. Virgil, your question about futures options. Those are instruments that you cannot trade on the TradeStation platform at this time. We provide you with a web tool allowing you to trade options on futures. So on the TradeStation platform, like on the Futures tab here on the order bar, you can only trade electronic futures. Sheldon, your question about trading penny stocks or pink sheets, those are not tradable through the order bar here on the TradeStation platform. However, if you're interested in trading penny stocks or pink sheets, call the trade desk. They'll do the order for you. So for any trades that you do on penny stocks and pink sheets, just call the trade desk and they'll facilitate the trade for you and they'll show up on your TradeStation account automatically. Okay. Let's continue on. Let's say that we want to send a futures trade. I'm going to trade ESM14. Is that the one that's traded at this moment? ESM14, that's June, right? Let me bring up my trading apps to the top. Okay, wrong year. Thank you for that. Okay, so it's ESM 15. All right, perfect. This is the June contract. I see the price right here. Notice that as soon as I put in the price, I get a price in there. Now let's send a different type of order. Let's say we want to send an order with a stop automatically included. In with what's called an OSO, we send a primary order to enter a contract, but at the same time it has a stop. As I said before, I prefer to do OCO and OSOs in the matrix. Simpler to do. But I'm going to show you one example here so that you get an idea on how to do it on the order bar. I won't do many examples of OCOs and OSOs in the order bar because I think it's complex and you have to go through a lot of menus, but I'll show you one example so you know how to do it. So I'm going to buy one contract of the S&P E-mini futures. I know this is the current price at the moment. So I'll send a limit order and the limit price will be 2055. That's my limit price. But instead of sending the order by clicking buy or sell, in this case I would have to click on buy, I'm going to click on the OCO OSO button. And this is exactly what I was referring to. When you click on OCO and OSO, you get this big menu that has a lot of words, and sometimes it's hard to know where to find the one that you're trying to look for. And that's why I prefer to use other order entry tools that I think are a little bit more efficient. But here, I want to just do an entry with a single order. My order is going to be a long order. But when I look here on the right-hand side, I get different options to exit. You have no exit order, but I do want one exit, which is a stop only. You can select brackets, but for this example, I just want a single stop on my order. So I'm going to select this one right here. When you do that, you come over here to the order cancels order and order sends order bar. So this is where you set up where you want your stop to be. Notice here we have the primary order for my one contract at 2055. And if I look here on the second row, this is my stop. This is my sell order right over here, and it's a stop market order. And it's interesting that I can select an offset from the primary fill. So once my primary gets filled, then my stop is set. Where is it set? 10 minimum movements below the fill price. So when you set an OSO, you have to think when you think of futures and forex, we're talking about minimum movements. We know that the S&P, for those that are trading futures, you know that S&P E-mini trades in quarters of a point. So 10 quarters of a point would represent 2.5 points. Now I did see a question earlier about how to set a trailing stop. You do it in this same dialog. I'm just going to use a fixed stop. But if you wanted to play around with a trailing stop, you come down here and you have a checkbox for trailing stop. So I can put a check here for trailing stop, and I can set the amount that I want the stop to trail by. But notice here it's points. So here it would be 2.5 points rather than 10 minimum moves that we see up here. So let me go ahead and disable trailing stops. I am going to use an offset from the primary fill, and I'm going to set it to -10, which is 10 minimum movements below my fill price. You have two options. You can place the order, or you can place and stage the order. We haven't talked about staging, but staging is a great feature because it saves this order if you want to send it again. Sometimes you spend some time setting up your order and your distances and your offsets, and you place that order, and then when you want to do it again, you have to recreate it all over. By staging it, TradeStation will save it in the Stage tab, and you can access it at any time. Let me show you. I'm going to click on Place and Stage. I get my confirmation because I did not disable it for futures. Remember that confirmations are on for assets individually. I'm going to disable this confirmation, but before I click on yes, Look at the order. This is to buy at 2055 and to sell at an offset from the primary fill 2.5 points below. Notice how we specified the offset as a minimum movement, like -10, minimum increments. But here in the confirmation, we see the translation into points, -2.5. All right, we get some margin information and commission information, and I'm going to click on yes. The order goes through. Notice how the information bar says queued because it only gives you the information of the last order. Doesn't give you the information of the primary one because that's the first one that it placed. It gives you the information of the second one, which is queued based on the primary. Now, where do we find these orders? Where do we monitor the trades that we're entering? For that, you'd have to go to the Trade Manager, and that's information that it's on page 4 of your PDF. Page 4 of your PDF talks about the Trade Manager, which is a control center for your account. I'm going to click here on the Trading Apps launcher, and the Trade Manager is one of the buttons here. It'll help you look at the orders and what's going on in your account. From the order bar, I only see the last order. I want to see everything that is active in my account. So I'm going to click on my Trade Manager. And if you look at the Trade Manager, we have different tabs at the bottom. You have your orders, you have staged orders, positions, a lot of information. Let's just take one tab at a time and see how we're monitoring the information. I'm going to resize the window so it fills the whole space. And I see that some rows are color-coded. Okay, they're color-coded to tell you what the status of the order is. As you use TradeStation more often, at a glance you'll know, okay, that's a canceled order, that's a queued order, that's any active order will show up as white. Those are your active orders. Whenever you see green, that's a queued order. And whenever you see yellow, that's a canceled order. You can see it by the status here, order status, received, queued, and canceled. The question is, can you change the colors? Yes, you can change all the colors. Just right-click on the Trade Manager and format the window, and then you can go to the color and change the color of everything that is in the Trade Manager. If you don't like the default colors, I tend to like the default colors because they're bright and I know exactly what they represent. Here we see our Home Depot order that we canceled earlier, and we see our futures order. Notice how the green, the one that's in green, it's indented to the right because this is the way of TradeStation or the Trade Manager showing you that one is contingent on the other. The one that is green is contingent on the primary getting filled. We have our limit order. Notice how we have the limit price over here on the right, 20.55, but our stop is offset from the primary at -2.5. So it's clear, right? From the Trade Manager, you also have some order entry functionality. Let's say that I wanted to, okay, I've had enough of the S&P E-mini. It's not coming down to 20.55 as I expected. I want to get in right now. Instead of canceling that order, I can just do a cancel replace. And let me show you how you can do this on the Trade Manager. I can just right-click on this active order. Notice that I get a lot of options here. I just want to do cancel replace. And I'm going to say send now, replace with market order. If you want to get in automatically and you see an order sitting there not getting filled and you want to get in now, you have all these different options. You can do it as a market order, or you can join the limit price or join as a limit price. When you join, it's going to buy at the bid. Remember that? So I'm just going to do a market order, replace with market order. Notice what just happened. Well, first of all, you see the color change. Now instead of white is blue. So blue are my filled orders. And notice what happened to the one that was green. Now it's white. Because now that you have a fill, now your stop is activated and it's right there monitoring your position. All right? Very simple. So execution-wise, you can execute orders here by going to buy or sell. You can also manage your orders by right-clicking inside of your Trade Manager and making any changes to your orders. Now let's talk about the position graph that you see there at the top of my TradeStation. The position graph bar is explained on page 5 of the PDF. But as soon as I got a fill, I see this little box inside the position graph bar telling me how my position is doing. Inside the box, you see the symbol. The plus sign you see to the left means that you're long the contract. So any position that has a plus to the left does not mean that it's making money. It just means that you're long that instrument. For any short position, you'll see a minus. All right? The value you see inside the box, the plus 25 that I see right there, that's my real-time P&L. Real-time P&L. The numbers you see on either side, on the left side you see a negative 20, well, I see a negative 25 on my account. It may be different on the positions you have in your account. That is just keeping track of the maximum loss. The maximum loss of this particular position, which means that my S&P E-mini futures at one moment was losing $25. It's regained its value since then, but that's the maximum that it has lost since I entered the position. Okay? And the number on the right is my run-up, maximum gain. This is the maximum my position has gained since I opened it. So at a glance, you can see how your position has been doing. How far down has it gone, and how far up has it been? Alice makes a good question about the audible alert. Yes, those are turned on by default. Here, the sound doesn't come through because I'm using a webcast technology. But yeah, whenever you get a fill, you should hear your TradeStation say order filled. That's turned on by default. Calvin, and to answer your question about if this can be set up on Forex, it works the same way. If I go here to the Forex tab, and I'm trading EUR USD, for example, I mistyped that symbol, EUR USD. Let's say that I want to trade 100,000 units. Let's go short the euro dollar. Okay, here's the last quoted price. And I'm going to go short at 89. Let's go short at 90. That's my order. Okay, if I sell, that's my order there. I'll say yes, and the order is received. If you want to set a stop, let's say that you don't use an OSO, but you want to send a stop on that order. You can't really do it unless you have a position open. So what I can do is I can cancel this order by right-clicking, cancel this, sell 100,000 units, and the order is canceled. So we'll learn other functionality as we go along and teach you different settings, because we do have a lot to cover. But the same way that we set up that futures order is the same way that you do it for Forex and the way you do it for equities. When you have a position opened, it'll show up on your charts. So let me open up a new workspace here and bring up a chart. This is the chart on the S&P E-mini. Take a look at what's going here on the right-hand side. Notice that blue arrow. That is real market activity that you've generated in your simulated account. Remember that I'm connected to the simulator, so this is the order that I just placed and got filled at. And it shows you what price you got filled at. If you want to know specifics about that order, just click on the background and put your vertical axis on the bar that you want to see the information on. And notice how my tooltips or my data tips window, at the very bottom of that box, it tells the trades by 1 at 20.59.25, which was my fill price. But my chart also gives me a visual of where my stop is. Notice that my stop is at 2056.75. It's telling me that that stop would generate a potential loss of $125. So this functionality that you see here in charting is turned on by default, and it's called Account Orders and Positions. Explained on page 6 of the PDF. It's automatically turned on. If you are a day trader and you're trading, multiple trades within a day, sometimes your chart gets cluttered. If you want to disable that information or the trading information that appears on the chart, just right-click on any of the arrow and notice that you have the option to disable. If I disable it, the information goes away. Now, if you want to bring that information back on, remember that is on by default, I'm just going to right-click anywhere inside my chart on the background, and I have the option to click on Format, Account Orders, and Positions. When I do that, the data is the one that I need to turn on. And notice how there's a checkbox for status. When you turn the status on by putting a check there, and you click OK, the information comes back on your chart. We're going to talk about chart trading tomorrow, because that's when we talk about other order entry tools. Here, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction on order entry and how you can manage and see orders on your chart analysis, on your trade manager, and see how you can keep an eye on your trading. Okay, I haven't talked about the time exit discussion, but let's go ahead and do that. Here on the order bar, you have activation rules. I haven't talked about any advanced order settings. If you're interested in advanced order settings, those are available or described on page 8 of the PDF. And one of the ones that are used the most is the activation rule. So let me set an activation rule. And I have the ability to click on the ellipsis here on the right to set 2 types of activations. I can set an activation based on time, and I can set an activation based on price. How is an activation based on time? Well, sometimes you may not be ready to execute an order at this moment. But let's say, for example, I think I saw a comment here in the chat window about having an order active being monitored based on time to close out your position before the market closes. Maybe for margin reasons. You're using your margin during the day and you want to make sure to close your position because margin requirements are different overnight. So you set an order to get activated based on time. And 5 minutes before the market closes, you send a market order to close your position. So let's see how that works. I can come here and I can use my ESM 15. I can set it at time. I don't have the exact time when the market closes for the S&P E-mini, but I'm just going to send an order to closes at, let's say, 3 p.m. So if I do 3 at 4, thank you, Ravi. I'll do 3 p.m. Keep an eye on what it says here to the right of the time box. It says local time. We are going to read your computer's time zone. So do not think about the exchange time. I know the S&P is traded in Chicago and is 1 hour earlier than what I am, which is Eastern, and it may be so much more different than where you are if you're in a different location, but this is your local time. So think about your local time and when you want that order to be activated, because this will read your computer clock and to set the time on your order. If I click OK, I have my activation box turned on. The order type will be a market order, and I'm just going to send a sell order for that S&P position. And notice how the order is received. Okay, if I go back to my trade manager, I can see how that order is also there. Sell 1 contract at market. the order is received, but if I go to the far right, I'm scrolling to the right, notice how in the advanced column it says there's an activation rule set on time at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That order that you see there, that order is on the TradeStation order execution server, and TradeStation is monitoring that order for you. And when 3 p.m. comes around, TradeStation will activate it and send it to the exchange as a market order. Okay. There's different ways you can see that order. You see it in the Trade Manager. I believe you also see it. You don't see it in chart trading because it's still not an active order. It's pretty much a queued order. You see it on the Trade Manager, and you also see it on the cancel button when you go to cancel. If you have a matrix window, you would also see that order sitting there as well. So different places you can see that order. Now let me show you something, because let's say that we want to do that for a stock. And that's a good point, Donald, that you're making. So his question is, and in the chat window, he's asking, can the computer be turned off? Any order that you place with an activation rule, or any order that is queued because it's waiting for the primary to get filled, all those orders are sitting on the TradeStation order execution server. So yes, you can go ahead and turn off your computer because TradeStation is monitoring your activation rules and your orders because they're sitting on the server. Okay? When we talk about strategies, is a totally different subject, and we'll talk about strategies next week and how those orders are generated. There are some exceptions there. But any order you place from the auto bar, matrix, Trade Manager, chart trading, all those orders are going to go to the order execution server and remain there until an activation rule is met, your stop price is met, anything that is that has to be monitored. Okay. Let's go ahead and do one other example, because if you are a stock trader, and based on the responses earlier in the class, about 60% of you are trading stocks. Let me show you one example, because you're going to scratch your heads once you do this. If I go here and let me just put in a market order for Home Depot, and I'm just going to buy it. Okay, so I have my Home Depot position right here. Let's say that I send a stop order for my Home Depot. So if Home Depot drops to 113, so let me put in a stop price. My order type is going to be a market order. My stop price is 113. This will be a GTC order. That's fine. And I'm going to sell my Home Depot position if it goes to 113. Sell. There we go. We have a stop in place. I did it very quickly. If you need me to review it, I'll just place it again. But I just entered two separate orders. So I got my position on Home Depot. I got my stop in place. Let's say that we're going to use the same scenario, that we want to close our Home Depot position before the market closes. So if I come here and I set an activation rule, and I click on the ellipsis, and I click on time, and I say before the market closes, I'm going to send my order at 3:55 p.m. 3:55, 5 minutes before the market close. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to send a market order because it has an activation rule, and I'm going to sell my Home Depot if my stop doesn't get hit. Sell. Now notice what happened. You can see in the information bar that my order got rejected. Why was it rejected? And it was not rejected for futures. Well, futures is the behavior for futures is different. When you send orders for futures, they all interact with each other, and they'll net each other off. So you can have multiple buys and multiple sells working together as a whole, and you will just get a net position at the very end. But for stocks, it's different. I have a position of Home Depot of 500 shares. I already have a selling transaction for those 500 shares at a stop price of 113. So there's an active order to sell those 500 shares. If I try to send an additional selling order for the same 500 shares, my order gets rejected because it's going to tell me, and it tells me right there, the reason. See, you see the information bar? It says you are long 500 shares with 500 remaining on sell orders. So it's telling you you're trying to sell the 500 shares twice, and you cannot do that. So how do we go around this? We have to set up some sort of an OCO, and let me show you how to do that. So before I do that, let me go ahead and close my Home Depot position. Let me show you a different way in which you can close positions in your account. I can just right-click on my graph. See, sometimes we look at a graph and we say, oh, this position is losing $40. I just entered Home Depot 30 seconds ago and it's already losing $40. And you think, let me just close that position. I'm going to right-click on it, close this HD position, and I'm going to send now at market using intelligent. When I do that, the order at market order is sent, and it closed my Home Depot position. So let me go ahead and do a setup where I have a position opened, I have a stop in place, but then I want to close at the end of the market. How do I set that up? Well, Home Depot is here inside the box. What I need to do is I need to use an OCO OSO. This will be see, if you use an entry single order with one of the brackets that are here, this is not necessarily what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for a time exit and I'm looking for a stop. And all of the templates here do not meet, the characteristics that I'm looking for. If you find that we don't provide a template that meets, the characteristics that you're looking for, you're going to most likely have to create a custom OCO OSO order. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on Custom OCO OSO Order. It'll be an OSO order because you'll have a primary to enter your position on Home Depot, and then you'll have 2 additional orders that are going to be sent with a primary. So always think about the setup that you're trying to create and whether you need an OCO or an OSO. In this case, I need an OSO. I'm going to click OK. Now this may be a little bit complex at the beginning, but once you do it a couple times, it's not that hard. I'm going to type in the symbol here, which is HD. My buy order is going to be just a market order. I'm not going to complicate this example. I'm just going to choose a market order. But now I'm going to attach an order. So notice here at the bottom you have 2 buttons, attach a bracket and attach a single order. I just want to do a single order. Notice how the order is indented, so you know that it's a secondary order. See, the second row is contingent on the top row, but this will be my selling transaction. This will be a sell. The order type will be a stop market. And here we can do a specific price. I can say custom price, and I can say 113, as I had specified earlier. Or you can set it up as an offset from primary fill, and I can say give me 1 point below, -1. But now I want to attach another selling transaction. But if I do it while this row is active, notice how you have the highlight here on the second row. If I click on attach single order again, notice how the third order is contingent on the second, and that's not exactly what I want. I want this third order to also be contingent on the primary. So I'm going to click on this third row and delete it, because that's not what I want. So in order for you to make it contingent on the primary as well, click on the top row one more time and attach another single order. This second one will also be a selling transaction. It will be a selling transaction at market, so my order type is market, but I'm going to come down here, turn on my activation rule, click on the ellipsis, and set my time to 3:55. And then click OK. So these are 2 selling transactions that are working together monitoring my position of Home Depot. One is stopping any losses. The other one is closing my position before the market closes. Now, one important step before you go any further, because you have to make sure that these two orders are connected so that if one gets filled, the other gets canceled. I'm going to highlight the two orders. I just did that by just clicking and dragging. Highlight the two orders, right-click on the highlight, and then click on Group as OCO. The OCO will give you that functionality that if one gets filled, the other gets canceled. And that's the only way that you can have multiple exit orders for equities for the same position. And you can avoid orders being rejected when you're trying to do a setup like I did earlier. So when I do Group as OCO, notice that you get this little OCO button on top. They're colored in light yellow, letting you know that these are grouped in an OCO. And I'm going to click on Place and Stage Orders. I explained earlier that staging is a great way to use an order that you created earlier without having to go through the trouble of creating it again. I haven't shown you where these orders are saved, but I'll show you in just a moment. Let me just place and stage. It's telling me the position cost is $57,000. Continue? Yes. All right, and there we are. Notice how now we have a position on Home Depot. I can see it here in my position graph bar. It knows that it's a custom OCO. Notice how I have two active orders for Home Depot. They're together. They're indented because they're contingent on the primary. And if I scroll to the right, I can see that one is set at 113.68, which is 1 point below my fill price, and the other has an activation rule of 3:55 p.m. So those two orders are working together. Those two orders are on the TradeStation server, and when either one is hit, the other one will be canceled. And Calvin, your question is really interesting. Can you attach an option order, for example, a covered call, under the same order? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. In fact, I've done that in multiple classes before, where, okay, if you get filled on a particular equities, you want to send an order for the option and be covered and have a covered call or something. So you have a position that pretty much covers your call. So yes, most definitely. And in order to do that, you just have to know the option symbol. And when you come here to the custom OCO, then you just have to type in the symbol here and use the same process that we did with an earlier order where you attach a single order. And you can attach as many orders as you need to, and you're not limited to one symbol. You can mix up and match different symbols in this dialog, which makes it very flexible, and it's a great tool to actually create custom orders. Where is the saved order? Well, if you noticed, here in the Trade Manager, we have a tab called Staged Orders. When I click there, I have the two orders that I staged. I have my custom order for Home Depot. You see the symbol right there. And I have my custom order for S&P E-mini. From here, you can just right-click and then customize at the TradeStation order bar. It gives you access to that same order in case you want to change the, the symbol, you want to change the quantities, but the setup is saved for you to save you the time of recreating this order. You can also click on the other one. I can right-click on the other one and customize at the TradeStation order bar, and then you have the details of that order. One other use of staged orders, and I've seen it, used many times this way. When you're getting yourself ready in the evening or in the morning before the market opens, and you have a pretty good idea of what instruments you want to trade. You say, I want to place an order on the futures, I want to place an orders on these stocks. What you can do is you can stage a group of orders here, and when the time comes, you can just highlight all the orders that are here, right-click, and then you have the option to send selected orders. So as a group, as a collection. So you don't have to, enter orders individually. If you have a group of orders that you've prepared and you want to send them all at once, you can do it from the staged orders very nicely. The quantity can be changed. Yes, I see a question there in the chat. When you right-click and you customize the TradeStation order bar, you can change everything here. So if I want to reduce it to 100, hold on, I can do that very quickly. If I want to change the symbol to Microsoft, I can do that as well. You know, you can make any changes here to a staged order and then stage it again. For example, once I make the changes, I can say, well, this is my custom OCO for Microsoft, and then stage it again. So now I have a custom OCO for Home Depot, and I have a custom OCO for Microsoft. And you can save your orders in that manner. Let me talk about, because I'm running out of time, some of the settings here that you'll find interesting. You can also set an activation rule. I'm not sure if you noticed, but you can also set an activation rule on price. A price activation is very convenient, especially if you're combining options and stocks. So if you're an options trader and you want to trade in options based on what the underlying is doing, you can set a price activation. Here you can add a stock. You type in the symbol, you click on add, and then you specify what type of activation you want. Well, if you want Microsoft to be trading above a certain price or below a certain price, you can even add additional symbols here. So if you want to add an index, like the Dow, and add it, you can do multiple price activation. Here, both symbols would have to meet the criteria because you have an AND operator on the right. But you can send an OR. So either one can trigger your order as well. If you want to remove any of these activations, click on the X on the far right. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out as well. You see here where it says trigger type? And some of you may be looking at that option and saying, what does that mean? Well, let me show you where you can have an overall setting for trigger type, because this is very important. If I right-click anywhere, either on my position graph bar or my order bar, and then go to order entry preferences, you'll notice that equities has triggers, same for options, futures, and Forex. Now, when you go to triggers, you have a lot of options here. You have, by default, TradeStation uses single trade tick for stops and if touched orders. The same is for options, same is for futures, and same is for Forex. This works for stops and if touched orders. And we always use single trade tick for equities and futures. For Forex, we'll use a single bid and ask tick. What does that mean? It means that if you have a stop in place, remember that a stop has a specific price. If that price is touched, or if it's traded, your stop will be triggered. And that's why these are called triggered. I mean, these are called triggers. This is how fast is your stop going to be triggered. Is it going to be based on one single trade? Are we going to wait for confirmation and have a second trade? So this is behavior on how the stops and the if touched orders are being triggered in TradeStation. By default, as I said earlier, as soon as TradeStation sees that the price is traded, your stop is triggered and it'll send a market order. But if you want to say, I want a single trade tick within NBBO. NBBO stands for National Best Bid Offer. So what you're looking for is not only a single trade, you also are going to double check that that trade, that price is within the best bid and the best offer. So it does two checks. Not only waits for the trade, but it also waits for the bid and ask to be in the same vicinity. So that could potentially delay the execution of your order, just to make sure that, hey, this is a valid price, will trigger the order. You have other options, like here we have a double trade tick. Double trade tick is the one that you're looking for two prices to be traded or two orders to be traded at that specific price for your stop to be triggered. So that's what the triggers mean. And they are explained on page, I included a page on the PDF for this. You see a description of each one of these on page 10 of your PDF. So if you're interested in how TradeStation handles stops and if touched orders, go to page 10 of the PDF. Great information there. Okay, we talked about trailing stops. Now, if you notice here in my order bar, by the way, my Home Depot and my futures position are doing very well. Not bad, considering that I just traded those arbitrarily without doing any analysis. Okay, if I look here on the right-hand side, notice how trailing stop is grayed out. It's not the first time that I talked to a TradeStation user that's calling technical support because TradeStation did not enable trailing stops in his account. How do we enable trailing stops? Keep in mind, and always remember, that trailing stops are only available for stop orders. So when you look at the order type and you see market, trailing stop does not apply and it will be grayed out. So I go back to what I said earlier in the class. Some of the functionality here is not applicable at all times. Depending on what selections you make on some of the boxes, some of the features will be grayed out. In this case, trailing stop is grayed out because the order type is set to market. If I come here to stop market, then that's when trailing stops comes and it's available for me to select. When I click on trailing stops, I have two ways of setting up a trailing stop. I can do it by points, or I can do it as a percentage of the value of the instrument that I'm trading. Okay, most of the times we use points, but you also have the ability to set it as a percentage. Okay. To answer the question in the chat about if it's an it's touched, if the order is an if touched order and the price is touched, then your order is activated automatically. It doesn't matter where the price is, where the price goes. The trigger types on page 10 will give you additional information about a double or a twice trade tick. You may be interested in looking at those as well. Some functionality for equity traders only. Show only. You see it right here? Show only. Let me just change the order type here to limit. Show only is a way to hide large orders from the market. If you're interested in trading large quantities of a particular instrument, and you know that that instrument doesn't have a lot of liquidity, and maybe a large order will impact the price. So to make sure that you guarantee some sort of a fair price for your order, you may want to show only a certain quantity. So when that order gets received by the market maker or the ECN at the exchange level, they'll administer that order and only show a certain amount to the general public. So yes, you can have certain control over how many shares are being displayed to the overall market. If you don't select this, it will just show the complete order. If it's 10,000 or 100,000 shares, it will show the whole quantity. All right. We have other functionality here that is also described in the PDF. On page 8 is where you find the information on some of these advanced orders. Are there, since I cannot explain every single one here, is there any particular one that you guys want me to describe so that you can understand what it does? This is for equity traders. If you look at futures, for example, we have a much simpler advanced order tab. It only has activation rules, it has trailing stops, it has the if touch and the show only. And if you go to Forex, even simpler, advanced, it has fewer options. For equities though, since ECNs and market makers offer a lot of functionality in how to manage your order, you get all these sorts of checkboxes that you can enable and disable for your order. Okay. Excuse me. To answer the question in the chat, will volume be impacted as you hide it? Remember that when you display an order, and we look at different orders in level 2, you see all the buys and the sells. These are orders waiting to get filled. This is not actual volume. So what you're affecting by using a show only is the availability, or what other traders see as available at the certain price. So that's what you're affecting, not necessarily volume, but the size of the offer. All right. Well, this is great information. I mean, we could spend, hours sitting here and talking about all the functionality here on the order bar. But from a general perspective, I think I pretty much covered some of the important points. One thing that I wanted to show you before I end this class is the P button. You see the P button here that's grayed out? A lot of TradeStation users don't know what the P button does. And sometimes they don't know what it does because it's grayed out and they cannot use it. But the P stands for position, and position will automatically remember how many shares or how many contracts you own of a particular instrument. Let's say that I change this quantity to 10,000. I just changed it to 10,000. But then I want to get rid of my Home Depot position. So here in the symbol box, I type in Home Depot, and since I have Home Depot as an open position in my account, notice what happened to the P. The P becomes available to me. So as long as you have a position open on the symbol that's inside the symbol box, the P will be available to you. Why? Because the P allows me to change the quantity to the number of shares or the number of contracts that I own. So you don't have to go to the account and see, oh, how many shares do I own? 100, 500? I really forgot. Especially if you're scaling in and scaling out of a position, sometimes you have no idea of how many shares you own. So by having that P handy, notice what happens to my quantity. The quantity right now is 10,000, but if I click on the P, it automatically switches to 500 because it checks my account and it knows that I own 500 shares of Home Depot. So that's a great feature, a quick shortcut for you to populate your quantity. Okay. I'm going to end the class right now. If there's any follow-up questions, I've shared my email with the class yesterday. Let me share it with you guys again in case you don't have it. This is my email address. Feel free to email me if you have any questions about the platform. If it's something that is time sensitive, something that you need to know right away, it's better if you contact client services. They do a great job at answering questions, and if you have any questions on how to use certain functionality, they are great at holding your hand and taking you step by step through how to do things in TradeStation. But if you'd rather, email me, feel free to do so, and I'll provide an answer as soon as I get a chance to get to your email. So I appreciate your patience in that regards. All right, so tomorrow, we don't have a class tomorrow because the company closes tomorrow. It's Good Friday. The next class, based on our schedule, is going to be April 6th, which is Monday. And the title of our lesson on Monday, it's placing orders using different order entry tools. So we used the order bar today. On Monday, we're going to talk about the matrix. We're going to talk about chart trading and other order entry tools that you can use to place orders in your TradeStation. What else it's left for me to say? Here's a link if you want to provide feedback about the class or the content or the delivery process. So feel free to take that survey if you'd like to give me some feedback about the class. But I just want to conclude this event saying that it was great, spending this 90 minutes with you guys. In a few days, we'll have the class uploaded to the archives, so make sure you check that link periodically. Let me just share the link with everyone again. This is the on-demand archive to check the videos of this class. And just want to say that for me, it was a pleasure spending this time with you, and everyone have a great weekend, and I'll hope to see everyone next Monday. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.